Hey everyone, welcome back to the Thundertron podcast. Today I'm actually going to be discussing a really exciting reveal of Power Transformers Tuesday, that being the Transformers Legacy Evolution Decepticon Titan Class Nemesis. So a bit of a backstory with this figure. So we actually knew about this and heard about this back at the last live stream on April 4th, so the beginning of the last month. It was shown off, of course. It was actually an unfinished prototype. It was some of it was kind of greenish gray plastic, not all of it was cast, in that purple and pink plastic, so not the greatest view, but still was actually really nice to see because this was one of those rare situations for Titan Class figures where we had no leaked images, stolen copies, no packaging, no nothing. All we knew about the Titan Class for this year was it was going to be the Nemesis, but so the anticipation was pretty high. It was kind of killing us. So very exciting to see at the last live stream. I do have to say, at that last live stream, I was pretty disappointed because going into it, my number one purchase was going to be this figure, but unfortunately, they said it would be released in May. But here we are, it's May 2nd, and I do have to say I'm actually really glad most people's theories about this day were actually true. If you pay attention to my last segment, or was one of my previous segments on the Thundertron podcast, there was actually a rumor and kind of a theory that the Titan Class Nemesis would be revealed on May 2nd, and I'm really happy that is the case because I was kind of I was worried. I was like, was that wrong? Were people just making this up? But here it is, and it looks so cool. So of course, let's get into the basic information. The release date is September 1st, 2023, and the price is $200. That's pretty expensive, of course, inflation and everything. As for the release date, if you are bummed about it being kind of far away, I think most likely that will change because just given from the past experiences of Titan Class figures, me personally, like with the Arc, Metroplex, and so on, etc., usually they'll have a pretty far release date, like maybe November or October, and they end up being pretty early. Like I would say, maybe this could come out early August or late July. I think that's pretty possible. It is still available for pre-order on Hasbro Pulse. I'm assuming this is also going to be on the other Transformers, sites like Earth Entertainment, Big Toy Store, and of course, and so on. Let's actually get down to my thoughts. So there should be several images of the packaging and the figure up on your screen right now if you want to see it. There's also a 360 video, showing the entire figure if you want to see that for yourself. It is on Hasbro Pulse, but I also did put it on my channel in the short section. So of course, if you don't want to have to go to a Transformers news site like Hasbro Pulse every time you want to see it, you can just go to my channel for your convenience. But now my thoughts. I think this looks so cool. It looked amazing. It blew me away even in the live stream where it was just an unfinished prototype. I was still amazed at how just amazing it looked, This probably has to be, just for now, of course, I don't have the figure in hand. Just from appearance, this probably will be my favorite Titan Class yet. But my thoughts, it actually comes with a really cool battle mask. I do love all the spikes. There is quite a bit of panels on the legs and arms. I have heard that complaints, but I do have to say, when I was going into this figure, before I knew what it was going to look like, the price, anything before we were even shown this, before that last live stream, I did lower my expectations because I did know, the ship is a pretty hard design to do. This is the first time we've actually ever gotten a Titan Class Nemesis, period, or a figure of that matter, period, So I did lower my expectations because it's a hard ship to do. It's a very weird design, so I wasn't going to, expect the most. I was gonna, have my expectations, moderates, or a bit low because I didn't want to disappoint myself. But going into it, I am actually very pleasantly surprised. I think it came out amazing. Yes, there is panels, but there is actually kind of a fix for it. So the panels on the front legs, if you can see there should be an image up on your screen. They can actually be removed and turned into weapons. The weapons are okay. They're like 2 blasters. They're fine. I do have to say, I'm just glad we got them. I'll take what I can get because if you have followed the past Titan Class figures, usually the Titan Classes do not come with accessories. Like the Arc didn't come with an accessory. Scorponok did, but they were really just those 2 pistols that you kind of store on the shoulders. Omega Supreme did not come with a accessory. So usually it's the case where there is no accessory included. Trypticon didn't come with one. So as I said before, I'll take what I can get. Not the best accessories. It does seem like this was kind of an afterthought, like they added it at the last second. Like, of course, they were focusing on both modes, and they're like, okay, we should include something, and they kind of came up with this at the last moment. It does seem kind of obvious like they did that. But, of course, I'm not complaining. I'm still glad they were included. I do like all the turrets kind of scattered across the chest, the entire figure. That looks super cool. Huge spikes to the shoulders. This figure does come with a battle mask, which is really cool. And of course, if you do look at the head sculpt, it 100% resembles a Decepticon symbol, which I think is pretty cool. Another really cool, interesting fact, this is apparently the first female Titan Class figure, which I think is pretty cool. So it does appear that maybe the turrets are actually movable. I do hope, because that was actually one of the main complaints about the last Titan class arc. They had a ton of turrets on that figure too, but unfortunately they were fixed into place. They were not movable at all, which was a bit disappointing. So hopefully they fix that with this. I think that would be pretty cool if they did. And of course, if you do look up on any, Transformers site, there's several poses, some really cool running and battle poses if you want to see them for yourself, by all means. It does show the battle mask if you want to, but let's of course now get into the ship itself, which I would actually really love to display the figure in the ship mode, because this just looks so cool. I just cannot believe we're getting a figure like this. So, it does appear that they spent quite a bit of time and attention on this mode, which I'm actually really happy, because it kind of seems like they did that with the Arc. A lot of people did say that, where they put most of the attention and detail on the Arc, ship mode, and some people don't like the robot mode as much. I have to say, I don't think that's the case with this. I think both modes are as equal good. I don't have any problems really with the robot mode or this mode. I think they put a lot of attention in both, and I think they came out really good. I love, the huge wings, kind of an almost weird diamond shape, the huge thruster sticking out the back, the huge kind of command center. So there is actually some more accessories. So a bit of an example, they actually did quite a few years back. It was a Centurion drone Hasbro Pulse exclusive pack. It came with several, little mini figures, like little mini, display pieces or whatever you want to call them. They were like Optimus. There was several of them. It came with like 12 or something. It came with like Grimlock, Hot Rod, Cyclonus, Galvatron, I think. So there was quite a few, but they're pretty much doing that with this here. Instead of robots, they're actually doing alt modes this time, which is kind of a new thing, which I think is pretty cool. I'm actually not sure if there's the specific names, if they're like Starscream, if they're the Coneheads or Thundercracker or Skywarp. I actually looked in the description of, on Hasbro Pulse. It just says 4 Seeker Micro Fighters or Micro Figures. That's all it says. So I'm not sure. Maybe on the packaging or in the instructions, maybe when we get this, it'll say Starscream or Skywarp. I don't know. As it is, it does appear that they are unpainted, kind of like the figures with the Centurion drone pack, which has been unfortunate. Maybe they're not the final ones. Maybe they'll end up painting them. I think that would be nice. But it comes with 4 apparently, and there's actually little extending ramps, so you can actually have them, taking off out of a landing, platform and attacking the Ark or attacking the Autobots, which I think is a very cool feature. I think that's super cool. And actually, I think it would have been nice if they'd done something like that with the Ark. Maybe it could have come with a few figures like Optimus in his truck mode, or maybe Sideswipe in his sports car mode, or Ratchet or something like that. I think that'd be nice, but maybe they didn't think of that at the time. And we have the full Ark. You can have, pretty much, wave it around, have it flying across the room if you want to. I just think it looks so cool. Definitely one of my favorite designs of ships and Transformers, just period. I do have a complaint though. So most people probably have been wondering, how do you display it in the ship mode? So you can actually have it facing straight up. You can pretty much have the thruster or the entire diamond kind of facing on a table, so it looks like it's about to take off. I think that's a pretty cool option. I actually might do that myself. I'm not a big fan of the second option. So if you want it kind of flat, against a table, you can actually split the bottom, diamond, or the bottom thin piece, whatever you want to call it. So then, of course, it can lay flat against the desk. I think it's an okay option. It looks a bit ugly and odd, in my opinion, to split, the entire fin in half. I only think that's an option because I think that's most likely due to transformation. I think you probably do that for transformation into the robot mode and vice versa. I think it would have been better if this figure came with a stand. Considering this is $200, I think they probably should have just included a stand. Of course, it didn't really need to be anything fancy. I think the stand could have just been for this mode specifically. I don't think they needed to have any, multi-purpose stand for the robot and, ship mode. If they had just, given us a stick, clear plastic, maybe it had a couple hinges in it, and it could attach to the ship and make it look like it's flying, that would have been awesome. I have to say that's probably really my only main complaints. So like the kibble and the unpainted little microfighters, I can easily pass on that. That's not a deal breaker for me. And the stand isn't either. The absence of the stand isn't either, but I would say that's my major complaint. I do hope maybe if there's a third-party company, they like 3D print stuff, some, filler kits, add on the extra accessories. If someone makes a stand, I would definitely buy that. I think that would be very, very cool if someone did. I was actually really hoping when they first showed this at the last live stream, of course, was an unfinished copy, so I was still holding out hope that they would show off a stand, when they actually release this or put this out for a pre-order, but unfortunately, it does not seem that is the case, which I think is a bit of a missed opportunity and a letdown. But again, that's really my only complaint. It does show off the packaging. The packaging should be up on screen right now. It does appear there is actually some connection options. So there is actually at the back thruster, when you do split the fin, in half to put on a table, it does appear like there's a little connector port. So like sound barrier, airwave, from Earthrise, all those connections, those modulars. Apparently, you can connect them to the Nemesis, which I guess is an okay feature. We haven't really had any figures in a while, like in Legacy or Legacy Evolution, that have that connection. So if you have some figures from a few years ago, of course, you're set. I don't think I'll ever use that feature. Of course, I'll probably show it off in the review, but for display purposes, I probably will never use it. He transforms in, of course, 36 steps. That's actually quite a few. And the Evo Fusion gimmick is, of course, the weapons. You can take the little pads off of the knees or the front of the leg and form guns, which I think is, pretty cool. I think that's a pretty good creative Evo Fusion gimmick. And another gimmick, as I mentioned before, it has a little picture on the box where you can have the little ships, the micro ships, take off from the landing bay, which I think that's a pretty cool feature. I do quite like that. But that's the back of the box. So, of course, how about the front? So there's actually quite a bit to talk about. So we actually do have the Ark. Looks like it's about to crash, maybe on Earth. Looks like there's 2 planets there, maybe one Cybertron or Earth. And we actually have several Seekers. One of them actually has the design of like the Tetrajet mode, which I think is pretty cool. I'm assuming these will be the ones that we're actually getting. One looks like, I think, Thundercracker or Skywarp. And one Starscream possibly, or maybe that might be Thrust. I'm not really sure. One of them is actually covered by the Decepticon Nemesis text, so I really can't tell. But it does appear we might be getting a few of the Rainmakers and possibly Thundercracker and Skywarp. They are painted on the box. Of course, this is just artwork, but I do hope maybe they carry that through, because it kind of just highlights the fact that they're being a bit cheap, and lazy. Like the box art has them really cool painted colors, and then they're just, boring dark gray plastic and color for the final thing. So hopefully maybe they end up changing that. I think that would be pretty nice to see. But that is pretty much it for all the features. Hopefully this wasn't too long of a video. Of course, this is a Titan class, so there's so much to talk about, but please do let me know what you think of this figure in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Should this come with a stand? I really think it should have. Another thing that actually just hit me is there is no Blastific pieces, which is a bit interesting, of course, that we know of. They could end up adding some late, but from these pictures on Hasbro, there is none. Honestly, I think that's okay, because they've released quite a few, with the past Titan classes. And I do have to say, with the Ark and the Metroplex, they were very lazy. I think they were just recolors and reuses from the Siege Jetfire. I'm pretty sure the Ark were just done in blue, and I think the Metroplex were just done in that same orange color. So it was no new blaster pieces. If they wanted to include a brand new molded blaster piece in this set, I would be all for it, but I don't think they would. So, honestly, the absence of it really doesn't bother me. So, let me know if you think this is a Titan class in the comment section below. Do you agree with my complaints about the non-colored, microfighters, and do you think this should have come to stand? I do hope you enjoyed this segment, and I'll see you.